The scream hit him first, sharp, startled, and impossibly intimate, followed by the sickening realization that he had stepped into a room he was never meant to enter. It was supposed to be an ordinary Tuesday morning at the towering glass headquarters of Maricel Industries, sunlight streaming through the mirrored windows and brushing across polished marble floors. But for Rowan Hale, a tired single father who'd barely slept 4 hours the night before, everything changed the moment he pushed open the wrong door on the executive floor and froze, breath strangled in his chest. Inside, illuminated by the soft daylight spilling from the floor-to-ceiling windows, stood the company's elusive CEO. She was half-dressed, turning toward him in shock, her delicate blue slip shimmering with the morning glow as she clutched the thin straps against her chest. Rowan's heartbeat lurched violently, not from desire but from guilt, shame, and the crushing weight of every misstep he feared he'd ever make. His palms went cold. His throat closed. His mind raced through excuses that tripped over themselves before they could form. Nothing could have prepared him for the sharp, wounded look in her eyes, as if he'd trespassed into something far deeper than privacy. Something fragile. Something human. To all viewers of Ripple of Love, if you believe in hope, compassion, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to keep these stories alive. Rowan stumbled back, but the image burned itself into him like a scar, not for its accidental intimacy but for the clear tremor of fear the CEO carried in her expression, a fear he knew too well from years of trying to keep his daughter's world from falling apart after losing her mother. He'd seen that look before, on nights he found Lily curled into herself, whispering that she missed her mom, on mornings he forced smiles over burned toast and overdue bills. And now here, unexpectedly, on the face of a woman who supposedly had everything. Before that moment, Rowan's life was an endless loop of survival. Wake up. Prepare Lily's lunch. Race the sunrise to beat traffic. Clock in. Clock out. Run to daycare. Do laundry at midnight. Hide how close the rent was to slipping out of reach. He had taken the courier job at Maricel Industries because it paid a little better than the warehouse shifts he used to drag himself through. He had no ambition left for more, not after grief hollowed him out and molded him into a man who never stopped bracing for disaster. But then came the mistake. The wrong door. The moment that made everything inside him jolt awake. As Rowan backed away from the executive suite with a strangled apology, he felt the building itself hold its breath. The hall lights hummed above him, and the morning sun cast long shadows on the spotless tiles, stretching like the consequences he knew would follow. Yet the consequences didn't come. Not immediately. Not in the form of security escorting him out or HR terminating him on the spot. Instead, for the rest of the week, Rowan felt eyes on him, sharp, assessing, uncertain. Every time he delivered documents, someone seemed to be watching, whispering. And every time the elevator dinged open on the top floor, he hesitated, remembering the blue silk, the startled breath, the unspoken pain in the woman's face. Her name was Seraphine Marlowe, a name whispered in business circles with equal parts reverence and speculation. She'd inherited the company at 32 after her father's sudden passing and had carried it for the past 3 years with a brilliance that impressed even her enemies. But Rowan knew none of that when he first saw her. All he saw was a woman standing between vulnerability and authority, struggling with something heavier than the fabric slipping from her shoulders. As the days unfolded, Seraphine found herself replaying the moment too. The courier with the tired eyes. The shock on his face. The heartbreak carved into the lines around his mouth. She remembered how quickly he had turned away, not lingering, not gawking, just horrified at the intrusion. That sincerity, rare in the world she lived in, lingered with her far more than the embarrassment. The following Monday, the skies were unusually bright, their clarity almost mocking Rowan's inner turmoil. When he got called to the executive floor, his pulse drummed violently. He expected the worst. Instead, he found Seraphine standing by the panoramic windows, dressed impeccably in a soft cream suit that contrasted strikingly with the city skyline behind her. Her posture was rigid, but her eyes carried the quiet fatigue of someone who hadn't slept in days. Rowan stood still, gripping the document envelope so tightly the edge bent. He had no right to be in this room. Yet she turned toward him with surprising gentleness, a small nod that told him she remembered everything, yet wasn't here to punish him. Her gaze lingered on the exhaustion he tried and failed to hide, on the worn stitching of his jacket, on the tremor in his fingers. She recognized struggle when she saw it, because she lived it too, hidden beneath wealth, steel, and expectation. That day, everything shifted. Not with a confession or confrontation, but with Seraphine quietly assigning him more direct tasks, small at first, then increasingly significant. Deliveries to outside partners. Handling sensitive files. Meeting executives on her behalf when schedules conflicted. Rowan didn't understand it. He wasn't qualified. He didn't belong in boardrooms with polished tables and gleaming screens. Yet she insisted, each assignment framed with the same calm professionalism, though her eyes always held something unspoken, as if she were fighting against an internal storm. Slowly, a fragile thread began weaving itself between them. Not romance, not yet, but recognition. Two people who had learned to live through pain in silence, now inadvertently stepping into each other's shadows. Rowan watched her carry the weight of a corporation while hiding the cracks of her own grief, her father's death, the pressure to prove herself, the fear of becoming cold or ruthless. Seraphine watched him battle daily exhaustion for the sake of a little girl whose laughter kept him alive. One afternoon, as sunlight spilled across the empty conference room, Rowan caught Seraphine staring out the window, shoulders trembling ever so slightly. She wasn't crying, but she was breaking, quietly, privately, the way strong people often do when they run out of places to hide their wounds. The urge to comfort her rose in Rowan like a reflex, but he held it back, unsure of boundaries, unsure of everything. It was Seraphine who crossed them first. In a voice so soft he almost missed it, she asked about Lily. Asked how he managed. Asked how he kept going when life had taken so much from him. Rowan didn't intend to open up, but once he began, he couldn't stop. The fear. The guilt. The nights he prayed for strength. The mornings he doubted he had any left. And Seraphine listened, not as a CEO, not as someone above him, but as someone who understood the ache of carrying too much alone. What neither of them realized was that life had already begun stitching their broken pieces into something healing. Weeks passed, and rumors swirled throughout the building. The CEO trusted the courier. The courier seemed different, more confident, more seen. Seraphine didn't care. For the first time in years, she felt something warm threading between the long hours and cold expectations, connection. Humanity. Hope. Yet tension brewed as well. The board questioned her decisions. A promotion Rowan hadn't asked for sparked resentment. Seraphine faced backlash for appearing unprofessional or distracted. Rowan nearly quit twice, terrified he was ruining her reputation simply by existing near her orbit. But every time he stepped away, Seraphine found him, calm, composed, resolute, and reminded him that her life had been changed long before the board started whispering. It changed the moment someone saw her, truly saw her, as a human being rather than a title. Their breaking point came on a stormy afternoon when Seraphine collapsed from exhaustion after a tense meeting, and Rowan caught her before she hit the ground. In that moment, under flickering lights and the muffled roar of rain against the windows, he understood that the woman everyone saw as unshakable was held together by threads far more delicate than anyone knew. And Seraphine realized that Rowan, despite everything he'd lost, still had a heart strong enough to carry someone else's pain. As you continue this story, if it has warmed your heart or sparked hope, please support Ripple of Love by liking, sharing, subscribing, and leaving your thoughts. Before the final closing, please take a moment to comment and share what part of the journey touched you most. In the days that followed, they began reshaping each other's lives, not through romance alone, but through healing. Seraphine helped Rowan secure a stable position that gave him more time with Lily. Rowan helped Seraphine